Okay, so I'm putting together a quick guide here on how to use some of this code that I've laid out for people to use for their Canvas classes to have nicer layouts. You can put together a halfway decent layout using the table tool inside of the editor for your pages. However, when kids load that up on a phone, that table never changes sizes, and it causes some other issues as well. And that's something that we would rather avoid, of course. So this will there's two different stages to this. You can go as advanced as you want, but I'm going to give the basic and then a quick tip at the end to try and make it look a little neater. The layout I have here, the only one so far, is the two-column homepage. That's the one I've used pretty extensively, and it works pretty well. I have these image placeholders on there right now. You're going to need to design your own images for those. One of the places that I've used is Canva. Canva.com allows you to create, you can sign up using your school account or whatever over here. Allows you to create different images using their design tools, and oh, you can reveal it. Oh, isn't that nice? That looks delicious. So you can use this to use their design tools and their free stuff, and then you download it as a JPEG, and then you can upload it to your class here, and then you can use it to fill in this template that I gave you here. So once you have your images, and if you are able to, I highly recommend making sure your images are not much bigger than 500 pixels wide, because the larger they are, the longer they take to load. And we all know how we would love to cut load time off of getting assignments started. So make sure they're not too wide, not too big of graphics. But once you get those done, you need to go to your test page, or well, I've got a test page here, but go to the page you want to edit, click on the edit button, and then you are going to figure out where you want your table of units or whatever it is that you're using this for. You can use this for whatever you want, obviously. So in this particular example, I want my unit table to go after this nice little Latin quote, whatever that means. So if I take note of where that is, and this is best done with an empty page. Okay, it's best if you get this started right away and then fill all the other stuff around it. If you've already started, maybe start a new page if you're worried about breaking something. Because as it is with code, you sometimes get unexpected results, and it might be easier to start fresh. But I'll show you how to do this with what you've already got in there. So I want to end after Facellis Quislorum Quam. I'm going to click HTML editor, and then I'm going to find that phrase. This is real easy because it's in the first line here. All right, /P means end of paragraph. All right, and then P down here means beginning of new paragraph. All right, and if I go back to the rich content editor, I can see that next paragraph starts with lorem ipsum. So I do want it to go right after this paragraph and before that one. So I find my spot, end paragraph there, begin paragraph there, and then I put some space. Okay, now you can use any number of white spaces you want. It doesn't matter. The code will get all cleaned up automatically later. So then I'm going to go back to the Canvas tips and code for teachers, and then I'm going to find this. This auto expands when you hover over it, which is slightly annoying, but also kind of cool. All right, and then I'm going to copy that, and I will go back to my page, and I will paste it in. Don't paste this in when you are on the rich content editor. Make sure that you're in the HTML editor, otherwise it will just be ugly. So now I go here. Now this is the layout unadulterated, which is pretty neat. However, you're going to want to put your own images in here. There is a trick to doing this properly because of the way this rich content editor works. If I simply click on this and then go to my images and then click unit 1 to replace it, it's going to screw up all of the other div code that I have in there. So what you want to do is click on the first thing that you're going to replace, and I've already uploaded the graphics I'm going to use for this purpose. All right, I already made them, uploaded them to Canvas using this files thing right here. You can also click upload a new image if you want, and you can upload your graphic there. But what I want to do before I do anything else is click on the image I'm replacing and then hit the left arrow key. And I want my cursor to be just to the left of the picture that I'm replacing, okay, the graphic that I'm replacing. So in this case, I have a title of the class up here, but I also want a title bar image. So I'm going to click to embed image. That's going to go in, and then I will click on the placeholder, and I will simply press the backspace key. That is the procedure you're going to use to replace all of these placeholders here. So I will do the same thing here. Now these are my units. That's how I tend to lay this guy out. So I'm going to hit left arrow, And you can barely see that little blinking cursor right there. I'm going to go over here to my Unit 1 graphic. I used coffee because I'm doing this over the summer, and that's what's on my mind. That's always what's on my mind. Who am I kidding? Then I'm going to click the placeholder, press backspace. Okay, you can see there's some nice space around it, and that'll all resize to be proper once we're done replacing all of these placeholders. If, however, you've got the gray placeholder immediately smack up against this underneath, you still had the whole thing selected, and you need to, undo. Control Z will undo all manner of sins, as I just did there, and then make sure that you can see that blinking cursor. Okay. Technically, what's going on here is your placeholder is inside of a container that floats around based on how big the window is, and that cursor is still inside the container. If I replace this image, it deletes the container as well, because Canvas is just brilliant. Okay, so back to the cursor, to the left of the image placeholder, click on the new guy, click on the old one, the placeholder, press delete. Neat. Okay, we're going to do that again. Left arrow, and I'm going to put my Unit 2 graphic. Cool. Click on the placeholder, delete. All right, starting to see how this is coming together. Do the same thing here, left arrow key, Unit 3. Also neat. Delete the one that's touching it because it's inside of the same container here. Okay, goodbye. Last one, left arrow key, Image 4, which you can tell is the advanced course. Delete. Okay. You're basically done with the minimum of what you need to do here. So if I hit save, I can see this in action. So all of these are neatly laid out in a little grid. You do want your order to go 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Don't try to do it vertically when you're in the editor, because you'll see why in a second. The way these stack up is going to change how that looks if you try to go vertically. All right, so I'm going to open another random window here just so you can see this. So this is full screen, right? And this is my computer layout. This is what I would expect the kids to see on like a Chromebook or a laptop here at the school or at home. Now, if I resize it, it pushes everything over and it gets ugly. We'll fix that in a sec. But then it stacks very neatly like that. And you can see how that would be helpful for kids who are trying to use this on a phone or whatever. They now just have a vertical arrangement of unit links. Okay, and you notice it doesn't resize like this anymore. It starts overlapping. When I start covering it with the terminal window there, we can fix that. Now, that is as far as you may want to go. You may not want to go any further than that. That is fine. It's not perfect, but if that's what you're comfortable editing with, okay, great. Kids can figure out what that is. And if you put, Unit 1, Unit 2, if you put the text on your graphic off to the left, then it will display just fine, or like a big 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. That's fine. It'll look just okay. The other option that you have, and this just kind of cleans it up just a little bit, is to use the additional line of code that I've provided on the tips and code page. Now if you hit edit again, and you go back into this, HTML editor, now there's a bunch of code down here. Okay, you can see the paragraph with the weird Latin business, which that's lorem ipsum text, by the way. I don't know what that says, but it comes from some Cicero apparently. Then you can see right here, this is the title image, and the way I know that is because div means division of the page. Just a real quick crash course in code here. Div means division, which means a container. Here are all of its style settings. It's as wide as the entire page. It doesn't get any wider than 1,000 pixels, and then it clears both underneath, which means that it pushes all those unit things underneath it. And then this image tag is what you're looking for. So where it says image, that means that it is going to, you're basically declaring an image object in your code. So that back here is this right here, this picture. You can see actually it tells you div image. All right, that gives you a hint of where you're going to find that thing. So if I click here, it's also going to say div image. It's just a different div. So under here where it says div style 48%, those are your image containers. I made that 41% so that you have the nice little bit of space. That's what this means, padding here. A little bit of space around the image so that they're not all smack up against each other. So if I go to the image tag here, and you can see I've gone, you can look for these brackets, the greater than, less than symbols. Bracket to bracket, that's the divider. And then this next one, bracket to, and this goes multiple lines on Canvas, bracket, that is the image. That image tag is the one that we want to modify. So all you have to do for this is go back to this and select style width equals 100%, max width equals 500 pixels. You just copy that. You go in here, right click, you paste. Now you'll note you need another space right there. Okay, so it's got the quotation mark and then the source, which tells it where to find the file. Just press spacebar. Okay. So that should work. So if we go back to Rich Content Editor and nothing appears to be drastically or dramatically broken, we can continue. If it does, click that little refresh button right there and then, try again and try to be more careful of where you're putting that thing. Okay. So now I'm going to right click and paste for each of those images. And you can tell there's a pattern. Div. That's the end tag, by the way. That's the end of the container for the image. So then here's the next image container. There's the second image. You can see where it says unit 2 right there. And that ends here. End of unit container, or image container. Beginning of next image container. Image. You can see unit 3. Good. That's some confirmation because I named all my files unit123.jpg, which is very helpful. And then div. Okay, that's the end of that container. So I know that I don't have style text here yet, so I'm going to paste that, space. And if you put like a bunch of spaces, doesn't matter. It'll clean that up. Don't worry about it. If it makes you more comfortable, put like 10 spaces. It's fine. And then I'm going to paste it again after the final image, space. Okay, looks good. Great. Go back. Everything appears to be fine. Hit save. Okay, now you can see something's changed. These images are wider now, but they're not too wide because they're not all getting all pixelated. They're still within the size of what I designed. So as I resize the window, they stack much more neatly without overlapping each other. All right, which is much better. The other thing you'll notice, the course title, that's having the same issue. That I can also, if I go back and edit, and you guys can do this. This isn't too big of a deal here. Where it says this is my div width 100%. Remember, that's my title image container, and there's the image. And you can see I named it title.jpg when I saved it and uploaded it. That's the image tag. I'm just going to do this style equals width 100%. All right. So I don't want to put the max width there unless I use. Actually, you could actually. Ooh, hey, this is smarter. Why don't you just do this? Copy. And then pretend I never typed that. Pretend I didn't do it, because I'm smarter now. Paste. Oh, I missed the closing quotation mark. That's fine. Okay, there we go. So that should fix that. Now the course title also scales. Save. Wasn't that just neat? Okay, so that's how you're going to do it. If you have additional units, what you can do is go back into your editor here, HTML editor, find the end of your container. It's really easy to find because it's right here. That wasn't very helpful. It says div style clear both. That is the end. What that does is it draws an invisible line underneath your unit table and starts the paragraph underneath it. So you can see here where it says lorem ipsum. If you somehow delete one of these, or maybe you only have 3 units, that just floats there still. If you accidentally delete the clear both thing right here that I was just telling you about, then, well, I'm not going to do it because that'll just break everything, and that's embarrassing. But that'll just mess up this, and your lorem ipsum will be sitting, your text will be sitting right up against your units here. Okay, so you just hit refresh and try it again. Okay, so I'm going to do that. All right, now if I go back into my HTML editor and I can see the end of that, remember there's my invisible line, clear both with 100%. There's the end of my container, a little bit of empty space there, and then I can go back to this, and I gave you the little add more units, to add more units, simply copy and paste more of these in there. Okay, I'm just going to copy, and then I'm going to paste it, and then I'm going to paste it, and then I'm going to paste it. Imagine I had 3 more units, because I'm just an overachiever like that. Okay, so there you go. And then I'm just going to do just as an example, I'll just put the unit 4s in there over and over and over again. I wasn't prepared for this. Remember, use the little cursor and then hit delete. Go to the cursor, use the left arrow. Unit 4, delete. Click on it, left arrow, unit 4. Click on the placeholder, delete. And then additionally, we can do this before we go and save. We can go in and we can add that final little bit of wrapping up neatness here as we did before. And you can find your images that do not have it, so you can see, okay, image, style. If you've got image style, then you already did that one. Div style, neat. Image, no style. Gotta have style, paste, space, so that it's not smack up against it. Image with no style, we can fix that, space, there we go. Next one, image with no style, unacceptable. It's fixed now. Okay, back to this, and there you go. They're all floating. Now we hit save, and we have a very neatly resizing. I don't know why I did that. Of course this happens. Like 20 minutes into this. Anyway, so that's the general idea. Let me go in and figure out what happened there. So if you have something weird like that happen, you can see how I would fix it. Make this bigger so I can see what I'm doing. All right, see, these look fine in here. Let me go into the editor. What did I do? Okay, so the final 3 were the problem. Image, image, image. Give myself some room to work with. This also helps. You can put the image tags on a separate line, each one separated like that. Okay, these are the final 3. Clear, right? You see it? I don't see it. I don't see this at all. Well, anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete those last 2. Let me go back. I'm going to pretend this never happened because I never had that many units anyhow. But just follow those steps and they do ultimately resize neatly like that. Okay. So if you have any questions, hopefully about anything other than what happened at the very end of this video, just go ahead and let me know, and I will try and figure out what went wrong there. But anyhow, there's your neat resizing table of units.